Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Thursday's episode of The Lock Shop on the Nielsen Media Coolbet Network, brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet. All of the odds, if you're new to The Lock Shop, listening for the first time, watching for the first time, all the odds we discuss, you can find at Coolbet. You can sign up for an account at coolbet.com and use the code LOCKSHOP when you do. If you end up watching this on Twitter or YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all your podcasting platforms. Just search Lock Shop, and you can join us for that. Huss, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing well. We've still got absolutely gorgeous weather here. We've had like 3 weeks.
What are we looking at for that game on Friday, buddy? Like hot one?
Well, let's get a quick update for you, Dusty, on that one. 30 degrees.
Oh, my God.
And a high of 32 tomorrow. Excuse me. Yeah, sunny and 32. Is that okay?
I'll be hiding inside the hotel room until about kickoff. Let's just say that. No thanks.
Yeah,
Way too hot for me. That'd be great for game time though, to cool down a little bit, and yeah, that'd be real nice.
You know who's happy? The beer folks.
Yes.
Shout out to our friends at Little Brown Jug, who are now in the stadium as well as a partner of the Bombers. So you can grab a 1919 at the game. Our friends at Canadian Club, the CC and Gingers, I'd imagine sales will be brisk tomorrow night. And this entire week it's 32, 31, 31. So as I said, we had like 4 days of spring. Like April was absolute garbage. It was the worst April I can remember in a long time.
Straight to summer.
Basically since about the 7th of May, it's been unreal around here. So yeah, bring it on. One more preseason game tomorrow. We'll see you here in the Peg. And then a week from tomorrow, we get going. And we will hit a few
props.
Yes,
we will.
Because there's plenty up for you CFL fans. Get on over to Coolbet. Check on the CFL futures section. More added each day as rosters are a little more clear. We get closer to kickoff. But I'm fired up for this game tonight. It's been a kind of a dull last couple days.
You think?
I did. As I said, after that terrible week last week, went 2-0 to start it off on Monday with our picks. And I'm sort of back right now. When in doubt, I hate to say this, fade Alec Manoah. Got the Brewers at plus 140 yesterday. So I'm actually feeling pretty good heading into this. And geez, we're looking pretty good with same picks.
I know.
That's always been a good sign in the lock shop when we're on the same side.
It has been a good sign. And I was trying, I know it's a big number, and I've been on the heat a lot these playoffs, but I just feel like Denver comes out flying, pumps them early, and Miami doesn't want to waste too much energy trying to get back in game one in an arena where it's extremely difficult to win anyway. So unless the Heat come out with just a phenomenal start, which is insanely difficult to do against the Nuggets, I think game one could get away from it. And I've got a Jimmy Butler prop that I'm going to have for your Lock Shop play of the day later on, so make sure you're watching the Coolbet feeds for that. We'll tweet that out a little bit later, Huss. But it's going to be such a different matchup for Miami, the altitude for Miami, and no real urgency to win game one, in my opinion, if you're Miami. So I think Denver takes care of business rather handedly tonight, buddy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on the same side. I mean, I think this is Denver's game. I do wonder what the Heat, frankly, are just going to have left from that 7-game series, going the distance with the Boston Celtics, getting right back into it tonight. You mentioned the altitude. I think that will absolutely be a factor for the visitors. And much like we talked about this with this reminded me of one of the games where I had the Warriors to cover against the Lakers on the road at home after the Lakers already had their split or wherever ahead. It was game 5, I guess. I think you're right. I think if this one looks like it's not going the Heat's way, I think if anything, they try and give their guys a little bit of rest and realize that
it would be the smart play, right, Huss? Like that would be the smart move to make.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'll tell you what, Eric Spoelstra is about as smart as they come. I think they're going to learn a lot about Denver tonight. I mean, they'll feel each other out, trying to figure out, okay, what is our best attack to handle Nikola Jokic. And listen, the Joker, I'm not sure they have an answer for the Joker. Well, no one has had an answer so far. He's averaging a triple-double throughout the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
But then when you add in guys like, Jamal Murray and the way he's played so far, listen, I just think Denver's going to be ready. I think that home court advantage is going to be significant.
They're going to be going nuts tonight.
Yeah. In addition to the altitude. So Denver win by double digits tonight. I like it. Lock that one in -9. And then with you traveling tomorrow and doing the game here, we figured we may as well get some picks in for game number 1 of the Cup Final. And you're going to go with the home team right off the bat.
I am going to go. I guess I'm buying into the theory of a layoff takes a little while for the Florida Panthers to hop back in here. I didn't want to have both of the same picks. I mean, it usually works out pretty well for us. So I was looking at the total. I was thinking about maybe moving it up to 6 at like -127 and throwing that in here for a pick and taking the under on the 6. But this is the play, I think. You have to be on Vegas here, money line -133. I don't want to take away anything from the Florida Panthers and what they managed to do on the road, but this team hasn't played a hockey game in 10 days. Unless they come out and get some sort of bounce early, I feel like Vegas is going to be able to sort of just settle into their game a little bit here, and Florida will kind of see what they're going to be up against. I mean, Bobrovsky could come out and stand on his bloody head. And like, if you look at that series against Carolina, Hudson, we talked about it along the way, but Florida was allowing 38 shots, 36 shots. Like, they were allowing a ton of opportunities. I understand that for sure. And I think Vegas could get some of those tonight. So, or on Saturday night. I can't believe this thing is to start till Saturday. It's ridiculous. But Vegas -133 on the money line is the play that I just kept coming back to. So I'm going to lock that one in.
Yeah. And you know what? Now that you mention it, I mean, as far as the total goes, for game number 1, and I guess I've been talking this, I think this layoff is going to really, really impact Bob. I mean, I don't know how you can play at the level that he was at, essentially unconscious, and just press pause on that for 9 days and then come in and, expect it to be the same. So this over 5.5 right now, I mean, I think there's going to be some goals at both ends tomorrow. I don't think that this is going to be 1-0 games or 2-1 right now. So to be honest, at 5.5, I don't mind the over actually on that one right now. And it is -116. But yeah, Vegas, I think Vegas is going to be ready to go. I mean, this is a team that, and I was just talking to Lawless for the, for Winnipeg Sports Talk today. And, we got into talking about, the blueprint and the fingerprints that Bruce Cassidy has all over his team. And listen, Bruce has been close before. He's had a bunch of really good teams. I think he has this team absolutely prepared, knowing exactly what they need to do. And we saw it in game number 6. That was a team that played like they were pissed off. They couldn't believe they had to play that game, and they shouldn't have even been in that situation. And I think they come out all business right now. And as great of a run as the Panthers have been on right now, I think they're about to see that the Vegas Golden Knights, top to bottom, are the most complete team of these two. And I do like Vegas to get this done. But I think there will be some goals. I don't expect Bobrovsky to be able to have the magic, at least right out of the gate, that he's had on this incredible run.
It would be something if he did, though. Hey, if Bobrovsky comes out and steals game 1, all of a sudden you're like, oh boy, like, here we go again. So we'll see. But I like Vegas money line here at -133. All right, Huss, we do want to get into some CFL player props as well. This will be our final episode of the week, quiet on Friday, and then next week we're actually heading into week 1 of the Canadian Football League, which means we will have a lot of football discussion to bet on next week, which we are really looking forward to. Both series will be right in the thick of it as well, so a busy week next week for the Lock Shop, no doubt about that. But Huss, lots of player props up. I still find myself sitting here going, more, give me more. Like, I want more player props. If anybody from Lock Shop's listening, I want Kevin Brown rushing total right now. I want to see what that number comes in at, because that one I've probably hammered the over under. The Elks running back looks poised to have a big first full season in the CFL. But Huss, there's lots to choose from. We got receiving props, we got rushing props, we got quarterback passing props. What do you like? What are you hopping on right away and maybe not waiting for a little bit longer?
Well, listen, the place where I think there's the best value right now is in some of these receiving props. And there's a whole bunch of your top receivers on most of the clubs. And I mean, the numbers are up there. I mean, listen, your top receivers are always catching, well into the 1,000, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 yards. But there's also, I'll say this. I think that if you just went and laid the same bet, like whatever your unit is, and bet every single under in these receiving yards, I think you'd come up pretty good. Because essentially the overs on all these are essentially assuming that these guys are going to be as productive as they've been, but also basically playing the whole season.
And staying healthy, yeah.
And so, I mean, right off the bat, I've identified a couple guys that frankly have had a real tough time staying healthy, that have questions at quarterback, and I'm taking the unders. And I know we always say life's too short to bet the under. Not on season-long receiving.
Not
props.
on futures, no.
No. So Greg Ellingson in Saskatchewan has a 900.5 number on this one. He couldn't stay on the field last year. And obviously you've got a new quarterback on a team that frankly isn't very good. Pretty hard not to look at that number and think that the under is the place to go. And then the other one on that one that really sticks out to me right off the bat is Lucky Whitehead. Like Lucky Whitehead was huge. And listen, Rhymes, I mean, they had a great offensive attack with Nathan Rourke. I think it's a little bit different with Vernon Adams. And then the other thing about Lucky, we all love the guy, incredible color, personality. He is a beauty, but he's also had a real tough time staying healthy. I mean, when you get the amount of touches that he gets, he's a small dude. I mean, guys are looking to blow him up, and he's been knocked out a number of times. So at 950.5, I think the smart money's on the under there as well. And then obviously we're focusing on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, and then everyone expects the Bombers to, have another great season, and Zach Collaros in all likelihood to lead the league in passing. Here's the thing though, with Dalton Schoen at 1,100, with Kenny Lawler back at 1,000 is the number, and Nick Dembski, whose numbers actually dropped from 1,000 to 900 over the past week. I mean, right there, just in the totals, you're talking 3,000 yards before anybody else gets one. Guys can get hurt, and there's only so many balls to go around. And the one thing Collaros does as well as anyone is, mix it up and toss it to a bunch of other guys, and they won't be leaning on one player. I mean, last year, Dalton Schoen was sort of this incredible breakout player, but they needed him because Ellingson was out for most of the year and Lawler wasn't there. I do wonder whether any of these Bombers, I think maybe one of them will hit the over on their season total, but I think with the way we expect this team to play, the amount of winning that they have done in the past, and the amount of capable receivers at Zach Collaros's availability, I think it's really hard to hammer overs, frankly, on any of the Bomber receivers. And I'd be surprised if at least two of those three don't end up under, not because they're not going to be producing, but because the Bombers have so many options for Zach Collaros.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, the very first one I put down was Nick Dembski at under 900. Dembski was phenomenal last year. He had a great season last year. He had 10 touchdowns. Like he was terrific last year, but you're still just not going to get to that number when you've got Schoen and Kenny Lawler. Like there's just not enough footballs to go around. I could see Schoen having another big year. By all accounts, he just looks absolutely like mint condition this year from being ready to go perspective. So yeah, I love Dembski, but and Dembski's a weapon in other ways. Yeah, sometimes they'll pitch it to him and it will still count for receiving yards, but other times they'll hand it off to him and they get him involved in other ways, and that's how you're gonna look. I mean, if you're looking at combined total yards for Nick Dembski, over 1,000, that's not completely unreasonable, right? He's gonna rush for 200, 250 yards throughout the season, but Dembski, I gotta go under 900.5 yards for him. There's another automatic under that I think we got to hop on here, and that's Duke Williams at 1,000 yards. First of all, you're on a place. I know Bo Levi Mitchell, and actually Bo's one of my other ones I'm going to get to, but Tim White's the guy there. Like Duke Williams isn't going to be. He's a big play guy, but this isn't a guy who's going to be just racking up 9-10 catches a game for 90 yards. Duke Williams will have a couple of games where he has over 100 yards, but he's going to have some games where he has 40 yards if he stays healthy, which he hasn't been able to do basically since coming back to the Canadian Football League. So Duke Williams at 1,000 yards right now, I would hammer that under all day. I do have an over on the receivers, though. I have Jalen Acklin over 1,000. He had over 1,100 yards last year. Jeremiah Mazzoli's back, and there really isn't significant competition for heavy targets in that Red Blacks offense. So I do like Jalen Acklin over 100 yards. And then from the quarterback perspective, so those are my three receiver props. Williams and Dembski under their current totals, a cool bet. Acklin over. And then I'm going to get on Bo Levi Mitchell over 3,700 yards here. I mean, Bo has something to prove going out to Hamilton. And I know they've got, a fresh running back there as well. And they could go that way. But last year in 9 games, he had over 2,000 yards. And that was bad enough to have him lose his job. You know what I mean? Like, Bo Levi Mitchell was on pace to go over this total last year, and it lost him his job. Now he's got something to prove. I think Bo Levi Mitchell pushes 4,000 yards this year. So I'm going to get on Bo over 3,700 yards. But I don't hate your strategy of getting on the under a lot just because there's so much, like in season long. And same thing with the NFL, man. Like, especially for running backs. The running backs, I'm staying away from them. Kadeem Carey's a phenomenal back. And, in 14 games last year, he had over 1,100 yards. I think his total right now is 1,050. But you just don't know. You think it's too risky with the running backs and injuries that they deal with. So I'm going to stick with Bo Levi Mitchell and those 3 receivers. And, as more props pop up next week, Huss, I'm sure we'll find a few more that we like.
Yeah. And when I say the unders, I mean, I'm specifically talking about the receiving and rushing numbers. I think the passing numbers are a lot more reasonable and realistic. And here's the thing. You make a great point about Bo losing his gig last year. He's not losing his gig to anybody this year in Hamilton.
That guy's playing every single game he can. Yeah.
And it's just, as long as he's available and ready to go, he'll do it. I don't mind. I mean, the number on Caleros is 3,900. If he plays all of the games or even 17 of the games and they rest him at the end, I think he does that easily. Again, touch wood. I mean, injury is what you can do. And by the way, speaking of Kadeem Carey, like, if you're talking about going the over, if you think that he's got a good chance of hitting that over, I think you're better off just going at plus 300 to lead the league in rushing yards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I think the value there is, basically you're looking at Carey at 3-1, Stanback at plus 350, and James Butler at plus 375. 2 years ago when we were doing this on the Lock Shop, I actually got in on Stanback, and he did win it. The rushing title last year, of course, he got hurt for a while. But Kadeem Carey is going to be such a big part of that Calgary offense with Bo gone. And I think needing a little bit more support for Jake Mayer, considering the way the season ended last year. Listen, if you think Kadeem Carey is going to go over that number they have listed right now, I'd say either split your bet or just take it to the most rushing yards for the season and throw it on a plus 3-1.
Does get me excited, though, to be talking CFL player props, doesn't it? Oh, man, I can't wait for next week. I love being able to put just the CFL in the betting spotlight for 3 months for football, Huss. Like, as a league, they have to take advantage of that here in Canada. Like, they have to hammer that out. Because, that's how I first got into the national football. I didn't care about the NFL till I started betting on it and started playing fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, you got a window here for June, July, and August to just hammer CFL betting, and we're going to be forcing it down your throats with the Lock Shop, man. Like, it's betting on football. It's the best thing to bet on. I love it.
Hopefully forcing winners down everybody's throat. We had a good season last year, and obviously the NFL season went great. I have been, as I said, it was much discussed, my terrible week of picks last week. I am feeling back. I've got the mojo back, but I think the reason why the mojo is back is I realized that football is just about back, and weekly CFL picks are going to be real fun. We're going to pick every single game as we did last year against the spread, and it's going to start next week with you on a return visit. Speaking of Bo Levi Mitchell here in Winnipeg, Friday night. Zach Caleros.
That's a great Friday night football matchup to start the season, buddy. Oh, my God. I cannot wait to call that game. I'm going to be losing my shit like it's a Grey Cup. Like, I can't wait. It's going to be fun. So we look forward to that as well. Yeah. It should be good.
I was just going to say, speaking of Hamilton, while we're at it, I'm looking at the regular season win totals for the teams. They're the number 2 team in the league. I mean, the Bombers have a 12.5 number. The Ticats are at 10.5. So they're certainly the favorite to win the Eastern Division. I think it might take a little while. They certainly do have a tough game right to start the season here in Winnipeg. But to me, that is as interesting a team. I mean, they've been so close the last little while. They're now the old Bombers, the one with the longest drought without a championship. They're hosting the Grey Cup this year. As I say, I'm high on Ottawa, and I think that if Masoli is healthy, I think they'll be right there. But certainly seems like the bookies say that the Ticats are the team to beat in the East right now, and I don't mind that over 3,700 for both Bo and over 3,900 for Zach when it comes to their season-long passing attempts, because I think those guys are going to be in the game, and they are clearly the guys that are going to be playing the entire season.
Big Uke on the YouTube chat just points out that the Elks line has moved down to 7 from 7.5. So that number's creeping down on the Edmonton Elks. We'll get into that a little bit next week as we set up week 1 on the CFL sked. Huss, I'm sure we'll cross paths here over the next 48 hours, buddy. But if not, enjoy your weekend, man.
Text me when you get to town, pal.
See you later, buddy.